Last college women's basketball season, Samaria, Caitlin Clark had the sport by the throat. Iowa women's basketball was must-see TV, and if they were in a town, it was packed out in that arena, okay? The fan investment into Caitlin followed her to the WNBA, and viewership numbers for her games were sky high. Her mere presence alone helped several teams break attendance records, and in some instances, teams chose to actually move games to larger venues to accommodate the fanfare of Caitlin coming to town.
Geno Auriemma is furious. UConn games are seeing empty stands, while Caitlin Clark's name still reverberates in packed arenas across the country, even after her graduation. But this isn't just about attendance numbers. It's about a decision Geno made years ago, a decision that might haunt him for decades. Once untouchable, Geno and his UConn teams were the gold standard in women's basketball, dominating the sport for years. But now, cracks are starting to show. Attendance at UConn games has plummeted, with some matchups struggling to draw even 6,000 fans.
Yesterday, in a game in the Bahamas, UConn played for 567 people.
Meanwhile, over in Iowa, the Hokies continue to dominate fan interest, averaging an impressive 15,000 live fans per game, even without Caitlin Clark on the court.
A needle mover. The biggest draw in American sports today, CC22, Caitlin Clark Kent. That's just the truth.
And then there's Caitlin Clark, the player Geno doubted, dismissed, and ultimately overlooked. Her meteoric rise has been nothing short of historic, leaving fans questioning. Did Geno's misstep cost him more than he's willing to admit? How did Caitlin Clark go from being passed over by UConn to redefining the future of women's basketball? And what's Geno's response to his team, now struggling to draw fewer than 6,000 fans? Let's dive in.
Two things happen. One, they fall in love with all my players because of the way they play and the way they conduct themselves. And they go, yeah, he really is a
For decades, UConn women's basketball was the pinnacle of the sport. Packed arenas, sellout crowds, and a legacy that boasted legends like Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Breanna Stewart. The Huskies weren't just a team, they were an institution. But today, the story is drastically different. Attendance is dwindling, and for a program that once set the gold standard, questions are mounting about the decisions that led here, particularly one involving Caitlin Clark, the star Geno Auriemma doubted, dismissed, and overlooked. UConn's attendance woes paint a stark picture. Once accustomed to sell-out crowds, the Huskies are now playing in front of half-empty stands. A recent game in the Bahamas drew just 567 fans, an unimaginable number for a program of UConn's prestige. Even at home, where attendance used to be a near-religious experience for fans, they now average between 4,000 and 6,000 fans per game. Compare this to Iowa, where the Hokies are still pulling in over 15,000 fans per game, even without Clark on the court. It's more than loyalty. It's a testament to the lasting impact of a generational talent. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a great high school player. She was a phenomenon. Ranked among the top recruits nationwide, her game was a coach's dream. Deep shooting range, elite court vision, and an aggressive scoring mentality. She had offers from powerhouses like Notre Dame, Texas, Oregon, and Iowa, but not from UConn. Geno Auriemma, the architect of women's basketball dominance, passed on Clark, citing concerns about her style of play. According to Geno, Clark's flashy, high-risk style didn't fit UConn's disciplined, system-oriented philosophy. Instead, he put his faith in Paige Bueckers, believing she was the better fit and perhaps the better player. Clark, feeling overlooked, chose Iowa, a program far from the basketball juggernauts of UConn or South Carolina. And the rest, as they say, is history. Caitlin Clark didn't just thrive at Iowa, she redefined what the program could be. By her sophomore year, she was breaking records and turning heads. By her junior year, she led Iowa to the Final Four, cementing herself as the face of college basketball. Her game wasn't just about stats, it was about the moments. The deep logo threes, the no-look passes, the fearless leadership. She made Iowa must-watch TV, drawing fans who had never tuned into women's basketball before. For UConn fans, the sting grew sharper when Clark led Iowa to a decisive victory over the Huskies in the 2024 Final Four. It wasn't just a game, it was a statement. Clark didn't just dominate, she left no doubt that she was the best player on the court. Fans couldn't help but wonder, what if? What if Geno had offered her that scholarship? Could Clark have reignited UConn's legacy and brought back the electricity the program desperately needed? UConn's struggles aren't just about Clark. Programs like South Carolina, LSU, and Iowa are reshaping women's basketball, stealing the spotlight that UConn once monopolized. Fans now crave excitement, star power, and the kind of highlight reel plays that players like Clark deliver. UConn's disciplined, system-heavy style doesn't resonate the way it used to, especially with younger audiences. But there's no escaping the elephant in the room. Geno Auriemma's decision to overlook Clark is now viewed as one of the most significant missteps of his legendary career. The player he doubted became the face of the sport, proving her critics wrong at every turn. Even as Clark faced skepticism from critics, including Geno himself, she stayed quiet. No rebuttals, no public feuds, just performance. And perform she did. In her rookie WNBA season with the Indiana Fever, Clark shattered expectations, averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. She was the unanimous choice for Rookie of the Year and led the league in assists, while taking the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016. Geno's comments about Clark not being built for the WNBA now feel painfully ironic. Critics claimed her deep threes and flashy style wouldn't translate to the league. Instead, Clark redefined what was possible, proving that her game wasn't just sustainable, it was transformative. For years, Geno Auriemma's decisions were gospel in women's basketball, rarely questioned and often celebrated. But passing on Caitlin Clark might go down as the decision that reshaped not just UConn's legacy, but the landscape of the sport. Clark has become more than a player. She's a movement, a cultural phenomenon whose influence stretches far beyond the court. As UConn struggles to fill seats and Iowa thrives in a post-Clark era, one question looms large. Did Geno's decision to overlook Caitlin Clark cost UConn more than a championship? Did it cost them their place as the undisputed leaders of women's basketball? For now, one thing is clear. In the world of women's basketball, it's Caitlin Clark's world, and everyone else is just living in it. For Caitlin Clark, the journey from a high school phenomenon to the brightest star in women's basketball has been nothing short of extraordinary. Along the way, she shattered records, defied expectations, and proved her critics wrong, including one of the sport's most legendary figures, Geno Auriemma. The drama surrounding Clark's rise, Geno's shifting opinions, and her recent career decisions highlight the intersection of talent, ambition, and control in women's basketball today.